up, guys? Ryan from Cortex Labs, livecortex.com, where we talk about brain performance using nootropics and energy using, well, really any biohacking tactic available to us, but mainly testosterone. Subscribe to the channel if you are not currently subscribed. Hit the box and then the bell to get notified of content, because I'm putting out all kinds of content these days, and there is so much more to come. Just want to quick say, those of you that purchased the Torque nootropic stack, I mean, look, we can handle it, but we were flooded. We are still flooded with orders. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. You are going to love the stack. Some of you have already gotten your hands on it. I'm getting emails from folks that are like, dude, this is the best thing ever. I can't believe you put this together. So thank you. Thank you guys for being here through this ride and this journey and being into the products that I'm creating. And for those of you that pulled the trigger on Torque, I really, really appreciate it. I hope you love the stack. All right, so let's talk about making your nootropic stacks better with this strategy called protocol levering. Protocol levering. You know, on this channel, what we primarily talk about is being a high performance person. And one of the things we use to do that is nootropics. I mean, having them at our disposal is a very, very powerful tool to employ to have good brain function. And I've spent the greater part of the last 15 years trying to understand and then formulate strategies for really using nootropics surgically. And so, I've learned a lot of things. There's a lot of distinctions that come with that. And this idea of protocol levering is one of them. So let me just explain it. So the best way for me to explain this to you, protocol levering and what it is to give you an example of TRT. So testosterone replacement therapy is where you've got injectable testosterone that either every day or every other day or sometimes once a week is injected into your leg, your delt, your glutes, your subcutaneous belly fat, wherever you end up injecting it. You're on a particular dose of it and you inject the same dose pretty much every day. Now, but what a lot of guys don't recognize about that is, so they get a particular dose from doc, right? Prescribed from the doctor. In some cases, the dose is too high. There is such a thing as too much testosterone, because a lot of it ends up getting aromatized to E2 or estrogen, and that may not be good for that particular guy. And in general, I mean, there is such a thing as a dose that is too high on testosterone for you. I mean, in that community, they discuss this notion of dialing in, which in some sense is protocol levering, where they are noticing that they may be taking, call it 200 milligrams of testosterone a week, and they're doing it in everyday injections subcutaneously, and then after, they feel amazing for like 6 weeks, call it. And then at week 7, something changes. Their libido drops, their energy drops, and they start to feel side effects, maybe a little insomnia, maybe they get anxious or something, and those are common side effects of using testosterone. In that particular case, so they're prescribed a certain amount daily, right? They think they can't kind of deviate from that. And look, you should talk with your doctor. I'm not giving you advice on how to deviate from your protocol or whatever, but I can tell you that I've seen for sure in a lot of those cases that the dose reduction of testosterone was necessary for them to start to feel better. Because when you're talking about injecting testosterone, there actually is there's a buildup, right? And these long esters, they stay in your body and then they reach their sort of peak, but they stay in your body for longer after that. And if you're continuing to dose on top of that, you actually may just sort of disturb the homeostasis of testosterone signaling in your body and may need to change the dose at some point. You're sort of constantly monitoring, and then your hand is on the lever, right? It's like your fingers on the dial, ready to change things, ready to reduce a dose, or just modify your routine in some way that better fits where your body is at the moment, based on maybe some of the side effects that you're getting from it or how good you feel. This is protocol levering, right? It's having your hand on the lever and being able to dial back when necessary or accelerate when necessary. So I want to give you some examples on nootropics and how to employ protocol levering as it relates to nootropics and how this actually ends up making a lot of sense. So here's an example. So say you have an aniracetam, Noopept, and alpha GPC stack, right? Well, we won't go into doses, but let's just say that you've got a stack of those 3 chemicals in it and it rocks for you. It's like really powerful. But on some days you either notice it a little less than normal, it's like not as potent, you're like wondering why, or it doesn't really affect you much at all, or it's giving you side effects. It's overstimulating you, it's messing with your memory, because some cholinergic stacks or nootropics at high doses can end up doing that. Now, this could be happening for a lot of reasons, some sort of buildup of the compound in your system, and that would be referring specifically to half-life, long half-lives of certain nootropic chemicals, meaning they actually stay in your bloodstream and they're actually activating neuronal function at some capacity kind of somewhat ongoingly throughout the course of that half-life. So what may actually be useful in the case where it's giving you side effects or it's not performing it the way that it typically does is for you, because you have your hand on the lever, not to be dogmatic and think I've got to take the same dose every day. Maybe just dial it back a little bit, right? You just take your hand on the lever on your protocol and you dial the aniracetam down, a couple hundred milligrams. Maybe you dial the alpha GPC down a couple hundred milligrams. Maybe the Noopept as well. So if your stack looked like 700 of aniracetam, 150 of alpha GPC, 10 milligrams Noopept, maybe shoot for something like 400 of aniracetam, 5 milligrams Noopept, 60 milligrams alpha GPC. That's just one example. You're levering it down just a little bit. And then the next day you might notice, well, actually you're responding better to it again. Wow, super interesting. Or the side effects that it was giving you because you were dosing it too consistently and it's not put together well or something, they've gone away and now you're back to your rockin' brain function. I can't tell you how many guys or people in general will just consistently stay with the same doses of things because it worked at one point. Okay? This is a very important distinction for you folks to take away. You may need some days where you don't take the stack at all, but importantly, and I think more commonly, you just got to dial it back a little bit, right? If you're overstimulated or something's happening in relation to the stack, just try having the dose or dialing it back for a day and then see how you fare. Like sometimes with nootropics, less may be more. Okay, same thing with a pre-made stack. So say you have a really rockin' pre-made stack like Torque. Torque is a pretty rockin' pre-made stack. I mean, turns the lights on in every imaginable way. And you've been taking it for 3 weeks and like 5 days a week, you're just fucking on point, dude. Your brain is firing on all cylinders, you got a lot of energy, you're super motivated, you're verbally fluent, you're just like in the zone. And then one day, like you have a 2-day stint in a row where like all of your other variables are the same, but somehow like you're not as on point anymore. Maybe you're a little overstimulated, you're agitated, you're getting like snappy with people at work or something. That could just be overstimulation. I mean, there's some dopamine affecting compounds in Torque. There's adenosine receptor compounds. Maybe you had an amazing 2 nights of sleep. You ate a lot of fat in like one of your meals the day prior. Now you're building the testosterone. It's actually literally synthesizing kind of in those moments as you're starting to feel really awesome. And you are just dialed in as it stands. And then a stack like Torque, which is very potently stimulating, is just overstimulating you for that day. Instead of taking 2 capsules, just take 1 capsule, right? The next day when you go to take your Torque, just dial it back 1 capsule, right? Because it's 2 capsules per serving in Torque, so just take 1. And you're probably gonna find in this example that because your hand was on the lever of your protocol and you dialed it back just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. That now, wow, I got that rockin' energy from Torque again. Like it's like I'm feeling amazing, and this was a good choice. That happens, by the way, with a lot of nootropic stacks. Like there'll be days where you slept well, man, your T is higher. Like other factors are contributing to great brain function. Your exercise routine is now just starting to provide cognitive benefits and you're noticing it. You're in an amazing mood because something really positive happened in your life and that's affecting neurotransmitters. There may be times that because of that, you're so on point that you really just kind of need to, because your hand is on the lever, be aware of this and maybe dial your stack down just a little bit, right? Take one less capsule, change the doses, half the doses on your nootropic stack. And again, the driving force for this, for informing changes and levering backward on nootropic stacks is that they're either less effective or they're giving you side effects or overstimulating you or something related. Another example, so a stack with CDP choline in it, okay? CDP choline is a very powerful dopamine stimulating, noradrenaline raising, acetylcholine producing, these are all neurotransmitters, nootropic compound that, in most cases should be stacked with a lot of other things, usually in low doses. I mean, that's what I have learned over the years, particularly because of its half-life. That chemical there, CDP choline, has depending on what source you read, a 30 to 55 hour half-life, and in some cases up to 72 hours. we're talking about 3 days of a nootropic compound that is in your blood, can be measured, and is likely at some point affecting cholinergic receptors and maybe other neurotransmitters. And so, you know, a lot of these other stacks that are out there, like Qualia Mind and like the Kino Brain stack that I did the video about somewhat recently. I mean, the choline sources are dosed very high, and that's because I haven't really seen a pre-made stack out yet that has a founder that actually understands, you know, how to dose nootropics. Because no one's made the methodology part of their life. Like, I've actually had to create the methodology and spread that to the nootropics community. But some of those stacks, and if your stack has like CDP choline in it, and it's dosed at like the 150 milligram or 200 milligram mark, well, because of the long half-life, you may either run into lethargy, which is one common side effect of too much choline, too much free choline in the brain, or memory deficits, or some other weird side effect. Maybe it's overstimulation, and because of the long half-life of the compound that you're taking, you need to have your hand on the lever. When you notice some sort of weird side effect happening, just dial it back. Maybe take a day off of it completely, maybe just have the dose, maybe take the dose down 3/4, you know, if you were dosing 150, take it down to 45. And I guarantee what you're gonna find if you're paying attention to this. And again, what informs these changes is side effects in most cases. But over time, you get to know what schedule then you should be on with certain nootropics and what doses you should be taking on what schedule. I guarantee you, once you get all of this super dialed in, you're gonna know which day I should lower my choline dose, you know, which day I should lower my aniracetam dose, which day I should half everything, which day I should only take 1 capsule of torque instead of 2. And these are the kind of distinctions that really make you an expert in using nootropics and put your brain in a place where it's functioning super optimally, streamlined, you've got continuity in this good high-level brain function, and that's ultimately what you want to be focusing on. One last example, just to solidify this, back to the testosterone example. Another, you know, situation people run into with this very common dynamic of testosterone and estradiol and constantly kind of keeping those in balance and a good ratio of testosterone to estrogen for that particular person, because it seems to differ between people. One of the compounds that acts as not an aromatase inhibitor or an estrogen inhibitor, but more of an estrogen clearance chemical is a compound called DIM. Is it dindylmethane? And like, if you're on a testosterone strategy, in some cases you may have a dose of 200 milligrams of DIM, call it, and that's doing you really, really well. But I mean, DIM has the ability to clear estrogen, you know, at large quantities through your urine and through your bowels. And look, I mean, if you dose it too high for a few days in a row or something, you may actually get to the point where your libido tanks or your erection quality isn't as strong, or you don't generally feel as strong in the gym, and that actually may be lower estrogen. Estrogen that should be a little bit higher. If your hand is on, and by the way, that actually can happen. People are like, estrogen is terrible, I don't want any of it. Like, you definitely don't want none of it. Like, you want some E2 on the blood work for sure. You need estrogen in your body for a variety of reasons. But yeah, if it gets too low because of the DIM that you're taking, and you start noticing libido and sensation and erection quality are kind of a little off, your hand's on the lever, right? You dial the DIM dose back, you know, a little bit. Just a little, or maybe you don't take it for a day or two, and then you bring it back in, but introduce it at half the dose that you were taking and let things kind of balance out again. The bottom line is that sometimes protocols aren't static, okay? And you've got to be conscious of, if you want to get the best out of your protocol for brain performance or testosterone, you've got to be aware of when, because you have your hand on the lever kind of at all times, when you need to perhaps dial it back and change it. And at which points also you can take your hand on the lever and like accelerate it, put it on the gas. Maybe you need to double the dose, you know, at certain points. Your results are always going to inform, when you're on the lever, which direction to go, whether you're dialing back or you are accelerating. Okay, so like, I mean, look, this whole idea of levering changed my life around protocols, right? Nootropics, testosterone enhancing protocols, energy enhancing protocols, lifestyle protocols, etc. I would get so dogmatic about something that worked, and then I'd stick with it, not doing this levering thing, then I'd run into side effects, or it didn't work as well, or maybe some sort of tolerance or something, and I wasn't thinking at all about levering, and I would just dogmatically push through it and be like, what the hell is going on? Like around year 3 or 4 is when I recognize I've got to start changing things. I've got to cycle between stacks, or I've got to at least have my hand on the lever of stuff. These days, when I engage in any kind of new protocol for anything, it's like, and it's streamlined working for a consistent period of time, I'm almost like, all right, when is it going to either stop working for now, or give me some sort of side effect, or it's going to become less effective? I'm like, at what point is this going to happen? And I'm just looking for it, right? Because the fucking moment it happens, I know all I've got to do is pull the lever back a little bit. Levering your protocols, right? You are in conscious control of your protocols, and you absolutely should be. Do not be dogmatic about taking the same thing at the same dose for the rest of your life, right? Have control of your protocols. Lever when you need to, dial back when you need to, push forward when you need to, and always be aware of that process, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. Again, we just launched the Torque Nootropic Stack. I mean, this thing is exceptionally powerful. Look, clean stimulant, okay? If you want a clean, powerful, noticeable stimulant nootropic stack, that will also help you process information better, because we're working on that side too. So not just a stimulant, get Torque. It is exceptional. Buy a bottle at livecortex.com. The best way to do it would be auto ship, to have it shipped to you every 30 days, because Torque is actually 60 capsules, and you literally have a full 30-day supply of it. So get Torque, livecortex.com. That is our new nootropic stack that we just literally launched this week, my friends. Our other nootropic stack, Cortex, motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency. Now, Cortex is a stimulant stack, but Cortex is really also more geared toward better processing while you're using it, as well as longer term processing. I mean, we've got the raw ingredients for neurogenesis, making you make new neurons. But acutely, we're talking about motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency, brain fluidity, like that feeling that your brain is firing on all cylinders and working better than baseline. Get a bottle of the Cortex stack either singularly or on auto ship at livecortex.com. Subscription is also an extremely effective use case for the Cortex stack. Go to livecortex.com and buy some nootropic stacks. If you need my help on any of this, dialing your protocol in for testosterone, for TRT, for your natural protocol, figuring out what protocol you may need to raise testosterone, right? Helping you to situate your nootropic stacks in a way that gets you consistent results, hire me. I mean, that's what I do. We can either have a phone call about it, or we have an ongoing consulting package where you just continue to work with me. We continue to dial in your protocols, and look, I'll get you straight, man. I mean, I have been for the last 15 years working incessantly at, both my own protocols and many, many other people, business professionals, pro sports players, at dialing their protocols in. It's literally my forte. So use me if you need me, livecortex.com on the consulting tab. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell to get notified, because I'm pumping out all kinds of content these days. All kinds. For those of you that watch the fucking Hodge twins, those guys are awesome. It's been rad being with you. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.